And welcome to the Funniest Persons podcast. I'm Bryan Miller, doing a podcast here about a little amateur contest that has given us some of the funniest comics in the whole Midwest, in the whole country. No comics today. Today is the Managers Podcast episode. Hello, managers. We have Brandon, Hannah, and Joe.
Hello.
Whoa.
You can see not professional microphone handlers.
No.
This one should be good. we don't have any comics today, so we found these guys.
Well, there was a Managers Podcast for a bit, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit because you have a different perspective on the contest than everybody else. Because everybody else only really see their night. Everybody else experiences it only from like a really small perspective. They see at most 3 nights of the contest, right?
Mm-hmm.
They see their preliminary round, the semis, and the finals. But there's, dozens of contests every summer. So you guys see all of them. And everybody else also that we've interviewed is a very successful, good comic who's been very good and successful.
Yeah.
And then went on to be excellent.
Yeah.
And which is obviously who we want to be talking to. But also a lot of people do the contest and they do it once, they never do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it doesn't go according to plan. Sometimes because the beauty of the contest, I think, is that anyone can do it, right? That's the great thing, right? Literally anyone is invited to do it. But when you invite anyone to do anything, you get everyone.
Oh yeah, you'll get the office bet. You'll get someone who's been writing for a long time. You'll get someone who doesn't know what stand-up is and just like, hey, can I do a free show at your sure. Yeah.
Have you ever had anybody go up and like essentially not do stand-up?
Yeah. There was this one lady. There's this one lady who I thought she was great. But she like
Joe scored her all 10.
I did. She channeled like a demon.
Whoa.
And she did this like, and the Lord is watching you. And she did this whole body. It was really great. I thought it was hilarious.
Whoa.
Wait, what year was that?
This was
what year was that?
2018, I think. But she like did this whole like a God's wrath and punishment. She kept kind of smiling and
Do you think she thought it was funny?
I think she was a little nuts.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I hope she thought it was funny because I thought it was hysterical, but only if she was doing it as like, I'm just gonna be so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
No, I remember her email. She emailed us like the day before to do open mic, or maybe it was maybe a week, whatever. She emailed us to do open mic, and her email was insane. Like
I don't remember the email.
This is back. I think I was still day box office back then. I wasn't a manager yet, but I was like, I showed Derek, the GM at the time. I was like, look at this email. She's coming to open mic. We should be prepared.
You better put me on the list or else Satan will condemn you to hell. Yes.
Yeah. And I remember she had like a purse and we were worried about her purse for some reason because we were just like, what's in it?
Yeah.
She was in
blood.
Loose blood just sloshing around in there.
Yeah.
It's hard to get it's hard to get your one-liners in. It's like,
Sorry, blood.
Yeah, she's so quick.
But then, because that you see that at stand-up open mic sometimes, which is like an open mic is truly open, and like what counts as stand-up is pretty loose. That's the beauty of it to some degree. So sometimes you get people who just like really want to talk about something, and it may or may not be what we consider
people
stand-up.
like the insane calls we get every week, still to this day, like voicemails. Like we just made a TikTok of a voicemail for open mic, but
He's a very nice man.
yeah, but like we get people like sometimes they're like, I've got this 20-minute story that you are gonna love. I just need 25 minutes of stage time just to work it out. And I'm like, no, 3 minutes. And they're like, no, but it's got to be at least 20. And I'm like, we got to condense it down to 3 because that's all you get.
Do you ever get contestants who are like, okay, I'm going to need more than 3 minutes?
yes.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I figure, because especially people who don't know that, like in comedy, of course, the amount of time that you go is so fixed. It's like everything kind of runs according to how much time each comic is supposed to do, right? Be it an MC, feature, headliner, guest spot. Like timing is kind of everything in
It's
a literal
We
sense.
just had this
literally-
conversation
yes.
today. Yeah.
It's so much. It's just like timing's everything. Like show up on time. God
Yeah.
damn it. Show up
Oh,
on time.
yeah. That's the worst.
Because from the manager's perspective, like the show starts at 8:00. 7:30 is when you're supposed to get here, half hour before the show starts. And we're busy. Like the dinners are wrapping up. Like the bar's getting full. We've got shit to do. And
like
then
our only job is not to go and meet up with
Yes.
people to like guide them as to how, the FPC night works. It's like, no, we have like servers to deal with, like the bar if it gets busy, like customers, food, all the shit all around this place. So it's like, if somebody comes in late after you've already done that spiel, it's like, okay, like I knew I was going to do it this time, but now it's like, a nuisance. But
We got to
you
walk
know,
back on stage and
Yeah.
then show the lights and do all
now
that
there's
stuff.
now there's like a half full show while you're on.
Yep.
Oh
here's
yeah,
one,"
exactly.
You know,
It
like,
looks kind of weird to have
Yep.
somebody up there.
You have to
Mhm.
find all the contestants again and kind of, you don't have to redraw, but you have to let them know, like, hey, you're not first anymore.
Yep.
You're second. Because usually if you're
Yeah.
late, we have you go. You're on
Yeah,
right
you go
away.
first.
And that's
Yeah.
sort of the thing that, like, a contestant is way more likely to be thrown off because you get all psyched up that you're going first, and then you find out. Professional comics, if you're like, "Hey guys, we're all gonna wait 10 extra minutes," and we're like, "All right,"
Yeah.
because you're used to that. But
But
when
to
you're
a first
when
timer,
you're
it's a
first
big
timer, you're
deal.
so scared. Everything's
Yeah.
so nervous that any slight change makes you
It's a
nervous. And
huge
so, like,
deal.
I
Yeah.
always think it's fun, all the anxiety of the contestants, which I'm sure you guys get to see.
Yeah.
It's
Because
so much
first timers
fun.
are always nervous.
We love playing like who's the open micer or like who's the contestant. It's like you can see them a
You could
mile
always
away.
see.
They've always got a notebook and they're pacing. Like we're
Always
looking around, all
pacing.
nervous. But yeah, and that's a good. I mean, that's kind of true in comedy, but like good for contestants to know in general. Which is, like this is a thing that's happening over top of a whole show, and like you said, there's dinners, all the stuff's going on, and so it's easy as a contestant or as a comic. I'm sure you've seen sometimes to kind of think like, well, tonight's all about me. Well, a little part of it might be. There's a little part of it that is about you, but it's even if you're the feature, it's like, okay, man, that was 25 minutes of our night. There's a lot of other stuff going on.
And I would say most people get that. Like most people get like,
Yeah.
hey, this is we're all here. But you'll have people who will try to give you like sound cues and shit like that. Like, fuck off, dude.
Oh, that's interesting. They want like a music intro.
Intro
or-
music.
Where can I
We've
plug in
had-
my guitar?
Yeah, plug in guitar.
Is there a rule? You can use it. You can totally do a guitar act if you want, right?
Yeah, I'm just not gonna plug it in though.
Right.
I'm-
You gotta go.
Yes,
through-
yes,
Like
that's-
I'm
yeah.
sorry, but like that's
Yeah.
I'll do it for like our actual comics.
Yeah, Dimitri Martin gets a plug in.
yeah, yeah,
At the FBC.
yeah. Like you gotta do it full acoustic.
Yeah.
What would I out of curiosity? What would be like beyond like? All right, you can't do that. Like because you can bring props, you can bring a guitar. You can't have sound cues because that like requires other. But like,
like Brooks did. Like you can't get naked.
well, yeah, sure, yeah.
That's a big one. But I mean,
You can
Never
do
said
whatever.
no.
I mean,
It's your 3 minutes basically,
I'm
right?
trying to. Well, you had that guy who crossed that line.
the
Darian.
oh,
We can bleep,
I
we
don't
can bleep
believe
the
his
name.
name. This is a stage name.
Sure. Well, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my first time managing on a Tuesday night, and it's the first night managing and doing the contest at the same.
What?
Or I don't think it was managed, or just like first time as a manager doing the contest.
gotcha.
It was, like the,
Sorry,
fir-
not
it was
my
the first
night.
Tuesday of the contest that year,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
That you were
Yes, I
working
did the
in.
first Tuesday, and it was just one guy.
That's always great. Those are always good nights.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Oh my god! And I could tell right away like who he was. He was pacing around the bar. He was talking like he talked to me like a bunch. He was asking me questions. He's like, "Hey, do comics usually drink before shows to like calm their nerves?" And
Yeah,
I'm like,
get hammered.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, it depends on the guy or gal. And then he's just like, well, I'm 19, so I can. I was like, okay, so that answers that.
Yes.
And he was just asking a lot of questions. I mean, get a little annoying, but I was like, whatever. And then he gets on. So how it works is like the MC goes on first, and then they introduce the contest, and they're like, all right, give it up. I'll always remember his name. It's his stage name, Darius Salinas. I don't know if that's And he gets on stage and immediately just doesn't have a shirt on.
Oh, he didn't take it off.
He didn't
came
take it
out
off. He
without
took it
the-
off behind the stage.
Wow.
Like, on
Was he substantial looking at all?
he was like substantial looking.
That could
He was
go
a
either way.
bigger
That could be good or
gentleman.
bad, depending on your definition of substantial.
Yes. No.
You
I
can
don't,
take that any way you want. I meant like, was he carved
he was a bigger kid.
out
Was
of
he
marble?
He was a bigger kid.
He was going for like a Chris
He was, like,
Farley.
he was trying to do like a Kreischer. Yeah, Chris
Yeah,
Farley,
Kreischer,
Kreischer
yeah.
thing, what he's doing. Because then he
Yeah.
gets on stage and he was doing like, oh, I don't know how his microphone works. I'm just in the back
That's a
like,
good
all right,
bit.
man.
I'm a
Joe is
sucker.
cracking up in the back.
Well, when the guy comes out without a shirt, instantly you got to be like, oh
Yeah.
boy, here we go.
Dude, I had no idea what to expect. I was like, okay, I didn't expect this from this kid. And then he like fucks around for a little bit, and then he sees a woman has like a full wine glass on her table, and he just grabs it and chugs the entire thing, and then puts it out. And then I'm in the background, and I go, "You're done."
Oh my god!
He's like, "What? What?" I'm like, "Get off my stage! You said you're underage. Get the fuck off!"
Yeah.
We
And
had footage from that.
I wish we did this back when we
I
didn't have the
know.
camera, like the good
Yeah.
cameras. And then I just remember it was so awkward. Like I felt like I was kicking out like a one night stay. Like he's like putting on his shirt. I'm like, get out, we're done. We did our thing.
You fucked up.
Here's
yeah.
cab fare.
Yeah, here's cab. And then he like I still remember, like he left and then he came back like a minute later. He's like, I just want to say one more thing. I was like, what? And he's like, I'm really sorry. I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine.
You know what? You win. That's
Pretty impressive though to be the only guy that night and to
Cancel
not
the
win.
contest. We got
That's really hard to do.
All you need to do to
like
pass
Willy
your
Wonka.
night is to just talk for 3 minutes
To
on
finish.
stage. You don't even have to be
Or even
funny.
start, yeah.
You just need to finish and not drink someone's drink
Yeah.
and get completely naked. I guess taking your shirt off is
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
I think that's a 10 for me. Cut that.
Are you,
cut that out?
Are you ever sometimes are you pleasantly surprised? Like you see somebody who seems like they're going to be super nervous and then they're really good.
Yes.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course. That's probably the most fun.
I would
probably,
say.
right?
I don't want to call out. I feel like. Aiden struck.
The newest MC was a really nervous. He gets real nervous
Yes,
before he goes on, or
but
he used
he's
to.
so fucking funny. And like
It's
one of
great.
his bits I still remember from, I don't know, 3 years ago is the lightsaber one. That Lego lightsaber.
Oh, yeah.
It's
He opened with that
such a
this week.
funny-
Yeah, he told
Um,
me. I think that he used to throw up before every show, or maybe somebody else told me that. but
No,
he-
that sounds like
Yeah.
that sounds
No,
like
Yeah.
it.
but I don't. hopefully not anymore. Now
Yeah.
that he works 7
No.
shows
he
a week
crushes.
here,
He's super funny.
he's so
Yeah.
funny.
Well, I asked him. Oh
Okay.
No, because last week was his first week emceeing.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't hang out really for open mic, so I don't know a lot of the people who are here. That's my bad. But no, I went in, I like brought him his food, and I was like, hey, do you want me to grab you some silverware or anything? And he was like, no, I'm okay. I'm like, why? You, like scared you're gonna shit yourself or something before or something like that? And he was just like, no, throw up. I usually don't eat like 4 or so hours before I get on stage because I will throw up. And I was like, that's one hell of an eating disorder. That really fucking
Well, hopefully we'll break him
sucks.
of that.
Yeah.
He'll do enough shows that he'll
And
shake
it was
that off.
short ribs, so I was like, oh, my imagination was going wild. But yeah, here you go.
But yeah, because sometimes it's the people that are the most nervous that like it's because they've been thinking about it a lot, and then they actually get on and they do a really good job. But you never know till they start.
Never know. I can usually tell if someone's gonna run the light or not.
That's very interesting.
I don't know how to describe it, but like I can just
right away.
like when I talk to someone, I go on stage, I seriously say it like 4 times. I'm like, guys, see, this is where the red, like we literally go up on stage before the show, go like, this is where the red light is. When you have 30 seconds left, it's a solid red light. And when it's blinking, just get the fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
or wrap it up as quick as you can, because it's better to get done early and cut off your joke than it is to go over 2 seconds. And
You lose
finish
half
your
your
joke, 'cause
points. You lose half your points if you go over, and there's instant disqualification.
Exactly.
I literally just started saying, do not go over your time. Do not go over your time. Do not go over your time. And then we're all, like, then that's the end of the explanation.
I don't explain, but then you're just talking to someone. I'm like, after like 2 minutes of like telling him the thing, I'm like, okay, that person's gonna go over his time because he thinks he's really funny.
Did they seem maybe too casual and too comfortable, maybe a little too
Sometimes,
chummy? And
yeah,
you're just
maybe.
like, you're very confident about this.
Well, what really
Yeah.
sucks is when people go over their time, but they had an fucking awesome 3 minutes.
Mhm.
And it really sucks. It's like, dude, your fucking points get cut in half. Like,
That happened in the
I
finals
was gonna
once.
say, like 2-3 years
and
ago.
she I won't say the name, but she would have probably won.
Wow.
She went. Oh, she had her mic cut, which I've never seen in the
Whoa.
finals.
Yeah, usually by the time you get to the finals, those people
you
are,
have that
are
down.
yeah, they have their timing down.
It was
Might have been that
so-
the laughs were so big. That's the trickiest thing about the finals is that it's guaranteed full house. And in
Mhm.
3 minutes, if each joke gets 5 seconds more laughter than you thought it was going to, like that's like 30 seconds.
ride the
Yeah.
high a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
and you don't. So in your mind, like I know how long this takes. It's like not with a full house, you know.
Yes, it was such a bummer. It
Oh,
was such
yeah.
a bummer. But I usually you can tell because some people will go up and they'll do better than they think they were going to do, and they get this high from it. And that's usually for me what I've noticed when people run their time because they're just loving it. Like they're getting a decent response, or at least better than they thought they would, and then.
Yeah, when people run, actually, a guy at Open Mic ran the light a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking to me outside, asking basically, "Am I banned forever?" And I was like, "No, but don't be a jerk and keep being nice or whatever." But he said the same thing. He said, "He's like, I had like an out of body experience." He's like, "I thought I was doing well, but he was like, I just kind of blacked out, and I just didn't see the light. He's like, I just blacked out up there." I was like,
yeah,
dude, it happens."
Yeah.
He was very genuine. What's what's the like craziest thing you've seen in the contest? I'm guessing Brandon was the shirtless wine drinker.
Actually,
Blood lady.
you had another one that you forgot about, but it was so it's kind of funny because I was looking through. I take notes on all the contestants, not all of them, but if something sticks out.
Yeah.
And I just saw this note the other day that said blacklisted. Guy went over time. His friends heckled, and then I wrote friends tried to fight Brandon. And then after that, the guy asked if he won.
Oh my!
I don't know if you remember that. I
God.
don't.
This is how
but
fucked
it
up our
was-
job is. Like you have to. I'm like, what time?
Yeah.
Did somebody? I just had a lady almost punch me the other day, so it all runs together.
Wow. Ask
Yeah.
if you
I
won.
love
That's
that.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah. I like getting asked that. Did I win? What?
I had a guy kind of similar. He was a guy. Another thing, if they have like a costume change, then I know
That is a yes.
it's
yeah.
like this guy he was late, and which already pissed me off. And he's like, I'm giving him the spiel, and this is actually back in the day when we let comics go through the green room and then off the
Yes.
stage. We stopped that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we treat it like open mic now, which I think
yeah,
is better.
It's so much better. Having been here from both
contestants kind of ruin that.
because the green room gets weird when the contestants are in there, and then like
Yeah.
the comics don't really want to hang
Well,
out
and the
there.
headliners.
I mean, we
sitting
try
there
to
and
make
they're
it like,
just-
no, you hang out there first, and then you
Yeah.
go through the green room, and then so half the contestants like Brandy's like, oh, they're just eating my shit.
Yeah, they ate my ribs. That's how my ribs got eaten.
What?
Eat your.
Yeah,
Oh, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
the-
Well, I was
Oh my
out. While I
Shoe
was
spit
back
was
out
hurt.
bringing up the next part of the show, I came backstage. One of the contestants is just eating my ribs.
You think they're for everyone? or
Yeah, and
something?
that's what he said. I go. You ate my ribs, and he goes, I thought they were for the group. And I was like, oh yeah, ribs for the group. You know, like you do.
the group.
Yeah, a guy. He was. Yeah, he like did this. Like gave him the whole spiel, and then he was like, yeah, do I have enough time to change into my outfit? And I'm like,
I love that
Sure.
question.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
but invest in fucking tearaways if you're gonna do that shit. You have
That's a good
3
point.
minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's a good point.
so
Yeah.
this was like his whole. It wasn't like a costume. It wasn't like a costume change on stage. Like he literally. So I went like did some shit, came back to the atrium, and I come around the corner, and he's just wearing like a hospital gown. And thank God he had boxers on.
Sure.
And he was like bent over. So I come over and I just see just like an old man's ass.
Oh,
Like-
my.
like he was an older guy, like in
Yeah.
his 60s or whatever.
An old
And,
man's ass.
and I like freaked out, and I was like, I went over. Derek was the GM at the time, and I ran to him and I was like, dude, this guy's in a hospital gown. What do we do? And he's like, you better not be fucking naked.
That's
like,
gotta
we
be the
don't-
thought. He's gonna
Yeah.
pull the
Oh.
gown
He's like,
up.
we
or-
don't have a license for that shit. We could get in so much trouble for
Yeah.
someone getting naked on stage. And I was like, all right. And so I went up to him and I was like, hey man, just heads up, you can't be showing any body. Like you can't get. He's like, I'm not crazy. And I'm like, well, I don't fucking know. Like,
All the information I have about you is that you wore a hospital gown to do your set. That's the
Yeah.
all the
Holy
things
shit.
that I know about.
he didn't
you.
tell me what he was gonna do. Oh, and then when I was telling him like the spiel, and he goes like, hey, is it cool if I run a few like what I'm gonna do past you? I go, no,
Oh.
no, don't ever do that.
I was gonna say, do you get that often? Do the contestants want to run jokes by you
Yeah.
guys?
Don't. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a big no-no. It's like a thing you learn just doing open mic here a lot. Is like you just don't, unless you really know somebody, ask them first every time. Like
Yes, that's a big
you
new
would
comic
you would
thing.
never like just be talking to me and like run a bit of, and I'd be like, is that funny? I'd be like, no, we're not friends anymore. Don't.
Yeah, it's
I've never personally had like FPCs do that.
Mhm.
I have a resting bitch face when it comes to FPC week. I don't know. I'm very friendly, but
It's
but
a
I feel
smart
like
move.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like I mainly get it when I go out to bars, and if I just so happen to have like an Acme hoodie on or
Oh,
something, like I have to
Really?
make sure to like there's I was just talking about it today. At one time at Sociable Cider Works, I'm not going to say any of the details, but this guy essentially was like, "Oh, you work there? Oh, you're their manager? Oh, cool. Like, can I run some stuff by you?" Because of certain ailments that I will not mention, I was like, "Sure."
sure.
And so he did, and I was just like, "Yeah, just keep working on it."
I never thought
But,
about that. People just
yeah.
in the wild will just
Yeah.
run bits by
Well,
you.
and-
Like, because it's one thing if a contestant at the club, it's still a dumb thing to do, but
I
like
feel like I
you
get
can
more
see why they would think
yeah.
that might be okay.
Yeah,
I feel like I get
the
more of it on like
perspective
phone
for
calls.
sure.
Phone calls, people that call
Wow.
here, they try to run more bits. I feel like by me then.
Because that's one
FPC
thing that
week.
like
Mhm.
comics will like when new comics come in or new people come in to start, as soon as they try to run a bit by anybody, because it happens a lot. Comics always go, never do that. You just shut them down right away. I don't want to hear
Well,
your bit.
it doesn't
Never do
translate
that.
the same. First off,
and it's
like,
also what are the chances? Like they'll do it to like Abshire or, somebody who's like really good. And it's like, what are the chances that some guy who's done comedy twice is going to run a bit by Nate and he's going to be like, what a genius piece of, I'll fix it right for you or whatever. It's like, oh man.
I think even if comics I really like did that to me, I wouldn't laugh. Like I'd be like, I don't know. I need
thing.
you and your whole
the element.
Yeah. Like sometimes like say Burrell will be like, hey, I'm working on something. Can I run it by you? And yeah, okay. But like, he's not really telling me the joke. He's really more like relaying the gist of it so that he can be like, but I'm not sure if I should say this or where I should go from here.
Like
that makes sense. That's like a writing.
Yeah. It's like, but he doesn't like do the bit for me. I'm not like sit down and get some popcorn and watch Burrell just doing his thing for 3 minutes.
It's just you, and he's like, so how many of you have ever gone to the gynecologist? Like,
but totally new comics will do it. They'll be like, all right, so I got this bit right, and you can see them like go like they're going into it. And you're like, no.
All right, so check this one out. Like,
yeah, we had a guy like that. When I was day box office during open mics. It was me, Derek, and Nick, the bartender. We're all like hanging out chatting, and this guy just came up to him and was like, guys, I'm brand new here, new comic, got this bit for you guys. And we all at the same time go, no. And I go, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick, but don't ever fucking do that again.
What was the phone call one? Wasn't Sean Patton? Didn't he answer the phone once?
Somebody like we're at an after bar once, and someone called and said they were, and then was it Patton or somebody?
I thought it was Sean Patton.
Like answered the phone. It's like, all right, say your jokes. And they did. And then was he like, no, that wasn't very
good.
And then hung up on it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Some random guy called it like 2 a.m. and we happen to be here.
Like it's almost like a suicide hotline, but for needing to tell jokes, You're like, are you alone? Do you need to be funny? Call this number. And it's like, I'm just in a really low place. I need you to hear this bit about my cousin.
That's what it feels like answering the phones here sometimes. We're like, oh, if we answer this wrong, someone might kill themselves.
Yeah, I wonder, I would be interesting to talk to the managers of like First Avenue and be like, what is the musician version of that? Versus what? Because comedy's different than music, right? Like you're not gonna call and like play a guitar solo, but you gotta have some version.
It's probably like, can I give you my mixtape?
I
have a tape you have to hear.
Probably,
TikTok or something. I don't know.
It'd probably be some dude who's just like who calls in. Is like, all right, I need to show you the song, and the manager's like, all right, whatever. And it's just like, and it's just like 5 minutes of him tuning his guitar.
Almost got it. Yeah. But comedy is so tricky because someone could actually start running a bit by you and you don't know it at first. So you're like trying to be polite. And then like at some point you realize like you're doing shtick for me. It's like, but now you're kind of in it. So then you,
I just say no. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Some guy walked up to Jesse and started doing. If you don't know Jesse, I'm surprised he did it because Jesse's got a very he's got a very stern. You would just go up and be like, hey, I got it.
He's the nicest dude who looks like he would be very scary.
Like he'll kill you. Yeah. And then I think Ahmed was like sitting nearby and was like, dude, stop. The guy just stopped.
Yeah, we do get like musicians calling here too. And they're just like, hey, can I rap tonight? And I'm just like, we're not going to put a track up for you or do like, you probably don't want unless it's funny. I don't know. Like,
because comics will go to music open mic sometimes. And a lot of times they have the same reaction to us. They were like, yeah, that's not really. Nice job, funny man. But
I feel like I've had like 2 phone calls about somebody wanting to perform poetry.
Oh, sure. Which is because the thing is, it's close. Like you could actually, that's what I was saying. If people come up and not do stand up, like I could imagine somebody being like, I'm just going to go read a 3-minute poem. Because like, no one's probably going to stop you from reading a 3-minute poem if that's what you really want to do.
Right. Yeah.
Because like maybe it was supposed to be funny. I don't know, you know? But it does get tricky with a costume change and a music track. Yeah,
it's hard because we've been here for so long, but I'm always curious to know like what, from that outside perspective, like what they think this place is. Like we had people call all the time, not all the time, but a decent amount. Who are like, hey, can I headline on Saturday? And it's like to me like that's fucking insane. But I try to be like, what when you read about like what does it seem like this place is to you? Like is
like a rec center?
Has that worked in the past? Maybe.
Yeah, because I mean there's another one I'm sure like say First Avenue or Turf Club probably gets that a little. They have to get that.
I would think
the music
so.
version of that. But it is weird to think people think it's just like the Talking Depot and you just sign up for your time at the Talking Depot and you go do your talking and Lou's going to sell some beers and we're all happy now. It's like, I don't think that's how it works.
It's just interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
My headline Saturday.
Well, in comedy, also, people a lot of times, the difference between improv and stand-up is people really struggle with the difference of the two if they're not in improv classes or they don't do stand-up. So I imagine some people think well, I'm just going to go do my sketch. Me and my friends are going to do a sketch. It's like,
all right, you guys, we're all in the front seat of the car.
Yeah, right. Because sometimes people will come, not to this club because it's it has more of a history, but I've done some clubs that are in some malls, let's say, in my time, where clearly some of the audience members thought they were going to improv.
Sure.
And I mean, it's not like the club didn't do anything wrong, but it's just like they just saw a comedy club and they're thinking like, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's very different.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I mean, this is almost like leads into our other podcast. We were just laughing, but it's just like sometimes people think they're like, they just have this totally different perspective of what a show is. And you're like, no, that's not how, like, it's not like you kick someone out. They're like, I thought I was supposed to yell at them. They're supposed to insult me back. It's like, no, they have a set thing they're going to say.
Yeah.
They're not just, it may look like improv to you, but it's
Right.
not. And that's what's so great. Some people are so good at like writing a joke where like, it seems like that just came at the top of their head. Like, oh, and then they said something and it's like, no, I've seen that a million times do that.
Yeah, if you were here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you would
You
actually have
saw
seen
him.
exactly that same thing.
Yes.
Can you tell the comedian that it's my wife's birthday and to do
Those
a
are
bit
always
on it?
great.
It's interesting because I find this happens a lot where stand-up is all about trying to make it seem like you just thought.
Yes.
But of course, you really did write most of it. Like sometimes you're riffing, but you it's a prepared bit. Improv is made up on the spot, but you're trying to make it look so seamless that it's a written script.
Yeah.
People never believe stand-up. They always like, you guys are just really making that up. And then people go to improv, people are like, you guys had that plan, didn't you?
Mhm.
They always
Yes.
cross the wires.
That's
It was like, no,
interesting.
we're tricking
Yeah.
you successfully. If the improv people do their job, it should seem like they had it planned in some way.
Mhm.
And if the stand-up does it right, it should seem improv, but that's just, they're just doing a good job.
It's an interesting way to say it.
But
Yeah,
it's
I
like people
remember-
get they don't realize how much they're falling for just like basic
That's
tricks
what
of
I
the trade.
told Nate Abshire this recently, that he ruined stand up for my wife in a not in a bad way, but she
He's ruined stand-up for people in a bad way. Plenty of times.
Yeah. But she was watching him because it was when I first started working. She would come and hang out. She'd watch and she thought it was super funny. And I think part of his bit was something about he like said something wrong and like corrected himself and the audience laughed. And then she came back the next day and he did it again. And she's like, wait, he didn't fuck up. He's doing that all along. Like that's I was like, yeah, that's the act. Like it's part of the. You're like, oh, I thought it was just on a whim. And I was like, no.
He's dead to me now.
dead to me now.
There was a Chris Fairbanks, a really funny comic who's worked here some. His whole act was built around malapropisms and like intentional mistakes that would lead to other stuff. And the first time you see it, it seems like chaos. And then once you actually gets more impressive when you see it twice because you're like, oh, that was planned. But the first
Yeah.
time it's like fascinating chaos.
Yeah.
Because it actually does look like he's screwing up like kind of a lot. It's
Mhm.
it's an interesting thing. I don't know if he still does that.
And
Before we wrap
Yeah.
up, do you guys have any what's your advice other than to be on time? What's your
Be
advice
on
to people?
time.
going on?
Yeah.
Use your time wisely. You have to, like, if you're telling a story, you need to make sure that it's a huge fucking hit at the end
Mhm.
and that you fucking finish that shit before that blinky ass red light comes on. Cause, like, you need to be able to grab people's attention with it. And you have all these other, FPCs on stage who are trying to, like, rip through fucking jokes and shit. So if you're gonna, like, tell that, story, it has to be a fucking huge hit at the end in order to kind of compete with other people who are,
Yeah.
kind of like rapid fire. So
Mhm.
Because I
that's what
think in 3 minutes, I think you're right that a lot of people think like, oh, this story's about 3 minutes long.
right.
But a 3-minute story with a kind of funny ending on stand-up stage, you start
That's
realizing
like
how
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
it's
feels
so long.
forever because everybody else who's doing stand-up is like doing jokes leading up to the
Mhm.
story. That's
By
tough.
the time by the time you get to the punchline, kind of already forget. Like if it's not interesting, kind of forget like what was the punch? Like why was the punchline here? What was this about?
Yeah.
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 And I would just say try, and this sounds very cliche, but like just try to be unique because like you can get easy laughs. Like not that the laughs are easy, but if you come out and you're like, that's my first time, you kind of try to disarm everybody. I personally look for creativity the most. So if you have a really unique voice, not like a but like
Like a like-
voice in comedy,
Not like the
and
nanny.
can write
Yeah.
jokes. That would be funny too.
Yeah.
Can just write jokes and have a different something I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
To me, that stands out.
In a weird way, it's actually bad. Oh, it's almost not bad advice, but tough advice. You like be yourself as much as possible versus what you think
Yeah.
people want. But like, it's actually really hard. It turns out like trying to figure out what being yourself means on stage.
Super
It's like,
hard.
oh, that actually takes like a few years
yeah,
to figure out.
Yeah.
I
But-
think it's interesting when people like when comics make audience members like who may be a little uptight about something open up and see things from a different perspective, like through like some shit that happened in their own life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, that stuff too. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's okay. Let's
Um,
go.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like just be on time and
But be on time and
Use the
don't run your
restroom
light.
before you go on stage.
And actually, always pee before you go on stage. Because
Yeah.
even though it's 3 minutes, sometimes it'll
It
get
gets
you.
long.
and don't wear a costume. Don't.
About to be pee minute.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. And yeah, well, we won't see you again next time because you're not gonna be back on stage. But we'll see you out in the out there.
Out
You'll see me
there.
kick some people. I'll get maybe punched sometime.
Watch for those women taking swings at Brandon. All right. Catch you guys later.